From WAND, this is a special news report.
Good afternoon. We interrupt your regular programming to bring you news out of the University of Illinois. The University of Illinois has fired football coach Tim Beckman against allegations of mistreatment of players who were injured. We join now a live news conference with Athletic Director Mike Thomas.
It showed me enough evidence that Tim Beckman needed to be dismissed as the University of Illinois head football coach. As you know, when allegations surfaced about the football program, we took action but reserved judgment. I want to be clear that the health and well-being of students is our top priority. And this decision was based on the health and well-being of our student athletes. The findings do not reflect the culture we are building in Illinois athletics. As I've said before, the review process began immediately after the allegations were made this past May. I contacted the Chancellor's office, and since then, except for when I was interviewed by the external reviewers, I hadn't been briefed on what they were hearing. Earlier this week, when I was briefed, I became aware that they have interviewed more than 90 people and reviewed more than 200,000 documents. The findings the external reviewers shared in the briefing gave me enough information to take action, and I have done that. The timing is obviously very unfortunate, but the information I received in this briefing provided enough evidence to make the decision now rather than waiting to a final report, which would most likely happen over the course of the season. I've also met with the rest of the coaching staff and Coach Bill Cubitt. Coach Cubitt has agreed to serve as the interim coach for the 2015 season. Bill has led a program as a head coach. The players are familiar with him, and he has the experience and respect to guide this team during a tough time. When I met with the players, as you could expect, there was a range of emotions, but I'm confident that our team will rally together and prepare for the upcoming season. The team has a strong leadership core, and I'm confident they will pull together behind this staff. Next week we play our first game, and my hope is that together with our staff and administration and the DIA, we can turn the page and move forward. At this point in time, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
What was Coach Beckman's reaction when you talked to him?
Bob, I think it's a private matter, and I think I'll keep that between Coach Beckman and myself.
Mike, have you settled with the Svianovich family?
I'm sorry, Rob?
Have you settled with the Svianovich family? Son of Svianovich? Have you made any movement toward a settlement?
There haven't been any discussions of that type. It's not a legal matter at this time.
Mike, you're 1 week away from the start of the football season and have an interim head coach. How concerned are you for this year?
Well, certainly you go into any season, and this is really foreign territory in a lot of ways, Matt, but certainly, like I said, knowing the strength and the grit of this team and that core leadership group they have and the upperclassmen, also feel good about the fact that Bill Cubitt will serve in that interim position, and Bill has the experience. But know that it's going to take all of us to continue to move the program forward, and that begins from a competitive standpoint a week from tonight.
Was this your call, or was this the Chancellor's office call?
No, this was my call. I certainly consulted other people on campus, a number of other individuals, but it was ultimately my decision.
Would that have been different had there been a permanent chancellor in place?
Would the decision have been made different, David?
Yes.
No.
Who did you consult with?
I consulted with a variety of people, certainly my supervisor, Interim Chancellor Barb Wilson, among many other folks.
Mike, what did you find that drove you to this decision?
Well, really what I can share with you today, Jeremy, and I wish I could share more, it's really no different than what you're reading in the press release. And that's really as far as I can discuss the matter today when you look at the findings, the preliminary findings that were shared with me earlier in the week.
We talked about how the line could be changing and what coaches can and can't do. Is this part of that, or is this things that you would have been disturbed by before?
I would have been disturbed regardless of where that line is. It relates to the things that we talk about with our coaches. As you know, over a year ago, we started working on a coach's code of conduct, and all of you are welcome to get a copy of that. I'm sure Kent can accommodate you if you'd like to receive that. It already is a public document. That's an expectation we have for all of our coaches, not just our football coach, but the head coaches of all of our 20 other sports as well.
Mike, does this involve more than one incident, more than just assignment incidents that seem to be the start of it?
You know, Lauren, as I said, it really, what you see in the press release is how much I'll elaborate on the findings. And as you know, it's not a complete report yet. It's still an ongoing process.
Mike, you defended your culture all along. Can you defend your culture today?
I still can, yes. I think that the culture in our Division of Intercollegiate Athletics is tremendous. I believe in our coaches and our staff and our student athletes. I think they come to work every day and participate every day wearing integrity on their sleeve, and it's all about doing things the right way.
If not that's credit that though?
I was going to say, if that's the case, then how did all this happen?
Well, I think in any situation, you know, we have 525 student athletes, David. We have 21 sports. We have 300 full-time staff. And you know, for us, it's about making sure that we're going about doing things the right way, believing in things the right way. And when we find out that there's improvements that need to be made or changes that need to be made, we'll address those in the appropriate fashion.
Is anyone else losing their job?
At this point in time, there's not any plans to make any staff changes.
Like, you have the staff who was here when these things apparently happened, so why do you have confidence in them? Is it just on Tim Beckman, or is...
At this point in time, Jeremy, none of the other coaches have been implicated in the review.
Are there any actions you need to take, Mike, with the former athletes or any current athletes to address the wrongs that have been committed, particularly any medical issues?
Well, at this point in time, I'm not, when there's a final report and we have more information, then those are the things that we certainly can look into and address if necessary.
Is this one of the hardest situations you've had to deal with in your career at all?
Matt, I think that's fair to say, and it's not typical. And you know, this is a wonderful place. We have wonderful people. We have wonderful fans, and certainly we are all about doing things the right way, and we'll continue to move in that direction.
Will Bill Cubitt be considered for a full-time job?
If Bill Cubitt's interested, he'll be considered for the full-time job. I will tell you that moving forward as it relates to a future search process, I mean, my focus is on today and playing a football game next Friday, but I'm not going to be in a situation where I'm addressing potential candidates, and I know that there'll be a lot of talk out there, and from my past searches, I know that a lot more of it's fiction than fact, but we will address the search at the appropriate time.
Is it your search to conduct at this point?
It is, yes.
And that's after talking to the interim chancellor?
Yes, that would be my search to conduct.
Mike, we've asked you this before, but do you feel threatened with your job security, with the coach you hired that you have to dismiss because of these things?
No, I'm confident in the program that I'm leading. I know that when you're trying to build a program, Jeremy, that especially in a big vision way, that you're going to have obstacles and adversity along the way. And certainly appreciative of the people that we have working over the DIA, our coaches, our staff, our student athletes, and the hard work and effort they put into making the special place that it is.
When did you find out the reviews and the information that came back in the preliminary reports?
Matt, it was earlier in the week.
What was your reaction when you heard those findings and sat down with Franz and Gretel?
I was shocked and angry when I became aware of the preliminary findings, Matt, and certainly that's what led me to making this decision swiftly before the final report became due or was completed.
Mike, when do you start the search for a new coach?
I think there's a formal process to starting a search, which more than likely you're a few months away from that, Jeremy. But I think you're always paying attention to what's out there. But really, for today, Bill Cubitt's our head football coach, and I'm excited about Bill serving in that role. Bill and I go back many, many years, and I know he's a heck of a football coach, and he's a better person.
A question about the staff. You lose a staff member in this transaction. Do you promote someone to fill it, hire someone to fill it? Does Bill's salary change?
Well, I'll answer that first question, Mark, which is actually, I guess I should transition that to Bill when he steps up to the podium. I'll let him answer that, but certainly not going to leave him shorthanded as he needs to complete his staff. Bill's salary will change. I can give you that number. Bill's base salary right now is $515,000. We are going to compensate Bill an additional $100,000 a month for the next 4 months, so you can do the math.
Mike, following up on Jeremy's question, first of all, has it hindered the process at all, or your job overall, to have so much university administration of people over the last few months?
Well, it doesn't hinder, the passion and energy that I come to work with every day. I'm all about the orange and blue. It's an exciting time to be here. Obviously, we're working through some challenges, which people will tell you are opportunities. And when these things happen, you need to take advantage of and say, how can I make this a better place? And that's what's happening here. But certainly, not just for myself, the credit to the growth that we've experienced the last 4 years goes to the staff, the coaches, the student athletes. So I'm excited about the future and know that it's very, very bright.
As far as the formal process for hiring another coach, are you allowed, perhaps unlike Phyllis-wise, to have private conversations with people during the season about their future? Does it have to go through FOIA administered channels?
Are you asking if I can do things that
private negotiations with people, feel them out for their interests?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's those types of things can happen. If that happens, when that happens, Rob, I'm not thinking about that right now. I'm thinking about today. I'm thinking about turning the page. I'm thinking about the young men who I had to tell, 2 hours ago that they no longer have a head football coach. I know they will embrace and be excited about playing for Coach Beal Cubitt and the rest of the staff. But that's my focus in getting ready for a football game next Friday.
What was the players' reaction when you told them that?
Matt, it was a quiet group, which you'd expect. I think they're digesting it, and it came as a great surprise. But one of the things about that team, and you saw it last year when they won their last 2 football games, I think there's a lot of grit, and I think they have a lot of fortitude, and they're excited to play football next week, and they're going to play for each other. This season is about those young men.
Mike, had you heard anything before these allegations came out in the offseason that might lead you to believe that this was something that was possible?
Not that rose to this level, not at all.
What does it say about? What does it say to you about the Department of Intercollegiate Athletics that nobody seemed to know about this for years?
Well, I think it's a large operation, and I think that you have several layers, and everyone needs to be held accountable. And in this situation, like I said earlier, it's an opportunity whether we look at the avenues of reporting. Why did we not know these things? Why weren't they shared with people? And we are doing those things, with our coaches' code of conduct, with opening up reporting lines to make sure that our student athletes and our coaches are educated and trained to how that works. Bringing in an external consultant, Dan Beebe, to also train our coaches and student athletes to make sure they know what's appropriate, but also when there are issues that we're addressing them in real time.
Mike, you mentioned that it's kind of fresh in a couple hours since the players found out about this. Did he indicate to you that they are upset enough where they might think about transferring, or did you get any vibe from any of the players, or is it way too soon?
No, Michael, I did not hear that. I did not hear that at all.
When you received the preliminary findings, did you hear anything about any other programs like soccer, women's basketball?
No.
No update at all?
What's that?
There was no update at all?
No.
What about the findings really shocked and angered you, I guess, any specifics at all in the preliminary findings?
Well, I think that, if this, for me, and you've heard me say this time and time again, Matt, our primary focus is the health and well-being of our student athletes. And we can win football games, we can graduate our student athletes, we can be involved in the community, we can be good citizens, but those don't trump the safety of our student athletes. So when we've breached that or crossed the line, that is more than troubling to me, and that is why a decision was made, and a decision was made quickly after I saw the preliminary briefings.
When did you receive the preliminary briefing?
I was briefed earlier in the week.
Did they detail what percentage of the investigation is finished with? Is it 25%, 50%? Did they explain that to you?
They did not.
Does the decision to fire him have anything to do with on-field performance, or is it strictly based on the findings of this external investigation?
Matt, it was strictly based on these preliminary findings as it relates to the health and well-being of our student athletes.
If the team was surprised to hear about this and this you're not aware of this, the Department of Intercollegiate Athletics was not aware of all that had gone on, would you characterize this then as something that happened with a couple of individuals, something that was secretive, and whatever transpired that Coach Beckman did?
Well, I guess I should say in the room with the student athletes, it was quiet. I'm assuming that it was of great surprise to them. But to question the scope of what happened here, I can't answer that. I'm not, we'll certainly have a better understanding of that once it's a final report.
Mike, I think it's fair to say things haven't gone smoothly for the football program under Tim Beckman. What did you see when you hired him to think that he would be successful?
Well, Tim, he had a great, came from a great coaching tree. He'd been around a lot of coaches that have been very successful, who spoke very highly of him. He did some great work at Toledo under some difficult circumstances, the program that he inherited. When you talk to people about his program there and the things that you saw here as it relates to what they did in the classroom. They did great work in the classroom and significant improvements in the academic side and their involvement in the community and what they did as far as citizenship. Those were the kind of positive reports that you were getting when you were looking at Tim Beckman 3 or 4 years ago.
We have time for about one more question for Mike, and then we'll bring Bill on board.
You speak of these improvements off the field, then does this come as a real shock to you to hear about this? He's making such great improvements in the athletes' lives. What does this mean to you?
Well, I don't know if one necessarily means. I don't know if you can tie those together. I don't think you can. And like I said previously, at the end of the day, all those things that we're doing in a very positive way off the field, and if you're showing even any growth and you have that kind of growth on the field, that's certainly not going to trump, as I said earlier, the health and well-being of our student athletes.
Okay. Bill, why don't we have you?
You just heard from U of I Athletic Director Mike Thomas about the firing of Tim Beckman. He used words like shock and angry when he found out that these preliminary reports did indicate that what Tim Beckman did was the improper treatment of multiple players with them in regards to playing injured. Again, these are preliminary reports. The investigation is ongoing, but he still said he's trying to build a culture of integrity, and the health and well-being of the student athletes is the most important there at the U of I. We're going to have so much more for you on this and the allegations against Beckman coming up today at 4, 5, and 6. Our Matt Lovelace was there at that news conference with Mike Thomas, and he will bring you live reports again at 4, 5, and 6. Join us in just a few minutes.
We now return to our regularly scheduled programming.